Hello, one and all, and welcome back to League of Europe Season 7. This is the 14th round of the Division 2 Championship, coming to you from the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix. 13 rounds down, just 4 more to go, including this one. And of course, the last race in China. For the first time in a long time, we've seen the championship lead change hands. Kjorti Timon snatching a lead from Ariel Carmentalist, and more on that later. But to take you through the action for round 14 at this now iconic, I think, F1 circuit, it is myself, Daka, as always, and alongside me, as always as well, it is QVR Verstappen. Verstappen, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing quite well here, excited once again for Division 2 action and League of Europe here. Hungaroring, very iconic track, obviously first off racing I think somewhere in the 80s, I'm not exactly sure in the year there, but it's grown into a standard on the calendar and one that's always very, very exciting.
Yes, certainly. I think it's, particularly in league racing, I think it can certainly throw up some chaotic racing. No doubt, throughout the entire field. So keep an eye out for that all the way through. Maybe we'll be missing a few from the grid tonight. Of course, thanks to a delay in Division 3, it has taken a little while to get things going. We are running late, but should be underway very shortly. And in the situation, in this ever-evolving and frankly bizarre championship fight, I mentioned Timon taking the lead. He now leads by 6 points from Ariel Carmentalist. Then Larkin and Gary tied for P3 on 104, but I think one thing that has to be mentioned here is the absence of Carmentalist and Gary tonight, which I think, well, no other way of explaining it. This is a huge opportunity and an opening of the door for those two Alfa Romeo boys. If they can get it done tonight, they can really set themselves apart here.
Yeah, it's thrown the door wide open for both the Alfa Romeos, and they'll be definitely looking to take the opportunity and extend their lead to one another and also to those two guys that are absent.
Yes, certainly. So, yeah, Carmentalist Gary, it's a shame we can't get them here because, well, of course, we want to see everyone involved in that title fight present as ever. Gary, in particular, was in a great run of form heading into this race, so he will have been looking for a lot of points. Carmentalist, of course, led by such a big margin just 5 rounds ago. Of course, he had that lead cut down, but he still would have wanted to fight back. Those guys are going to be hoping, of course, for misfortune for Kjorti Timon and for XL Larkin further down the line. 20 points covers those two Alfa Romeos. They're the two drivers we're going to be watching in particular. A couple of other guys you can't rule out from the championship fight. Nathan JB, Kriko Zainova, they are quite far back, but probably not out of it. So we'll keep an eye out for seeing how that is going to unfold. 18 in the lobby, 3 readied up. I do think we may be seeing something of a delay at this point. So, yeah, maybe we can get close to a full grid. We have had quite a lot of absentees throughout the week, so we will see. Should be getting underway fairly shortly, though. As I said, 18 drivers taking on Hungary. And Hungary, I mean, a common nickname for this track is Monaco without barriers. And we'll see how that's going to unfold because, well, safety cars can certainly be present here, and, well, Hungary, such a technical circuit, and as I mentioned, Monaco without the barriers, you know what Monaco, how that demands the skill of the driver so much. Hungary, you have to say, for a purpose-built circuit, that is no exception. It's really going to test those drivers tonight.
Yeah, apart from the pit strike, you don't get any break around here from the strike from 14 to turn 1, but yeah, beyond that, it's just constant left, right, center, everywhere the corners go away, they come at you, and yeah, drivers will be put under a lot of pressure here tonight.
Yes, certainly. So they're going to have to be on their toes. Hungary, one of the great tests of a driver's concentration, and of course a lot of pressure on some of those drivers that fancy themselves to challenge for that title. In the constructors, which we, to be honest, haven't mentioned much throughout this season, Alfa Romeo have a fairly handy lead over Red Bull Racing, who run second in the standings. That duo of Gary and Zainova trailing the team led by Timon and Larkin. Qualifying now underway, 18 in the lobby, as I mentioned. Overcast, not raining at the moment. We'll see if it comes through later in the session, as it sometimes does. If so, people are going to look to try and get out there early. So we'll get ourselves built up, get into qualifying. Rain certainly can happen here, but of course, all important session, because overtaking, oh so difficult here. We know how that can go. Strategy is a big factor. We'll get into that probably a bit more later, but certainly this qualifying session, you cannot overstate its importance.
Definitely not. It's one of the most difficult tracks to overtake on, as it is quite notorious for. But it is an overtaking opportunity at turn 1, and probably at turn 2 as well. There's a second DRS zone there as well, so there are some sort of opportunities around here. But it is track position is still definitely very important, and QRT time is the first one out. No surprise there, and he'll be looking to make sure he gets that good track position.
QRT Timon, championship leader QRT Timon, knows exactly what is on the line tonight, so he'll be looking to try and get the best possible lap in this 18-minute session. Just looking pretty much the entire field, slashing the pit lane is on mediums, everyone else is on softs. We usually see quite a few opting for those yellow wall tyres, so...
It's not what it says for me. I see about 7 people on soft mediums.
Ah, that's I had it selected on best lap time. That's why. So yeah, we do have a substantial amount of the grid. In fact, my apologies, that are on those yellow wall medium tires. So we should get ourselves set up. Timing is going to set things up, then slowing it down nicely. Tire temperature is important, so you'll see a lot of guys backing up through the last part of the lap. QRT Timing, championship leader, qualifying specialist, over the line. Verstappen, take us through this flying lap.
Crossing the line and running a lot of downforce here, so the speed won't be too high, around 310 kilometers an hour, braking around 75 meters. Third gear he holds, and on the traction, fairly difficult with the DRS being needed to be opened right away. Braking for turn 2 just before the 50 meter. Goes a bit deep, but gets around the corner nicely, Timon does, and through turn 3 flat out easily, and down towards the first sector split. 26.7 is alright. 7th gear holds it through turn 4. A bit away from the curbs, and now down towards turn 5. A very difficult, very long hold there till you get on the power. Now for the chicane of 6 and 7. Very difficult to get around as well. Blowing corners now, 8, 9. They're coming at you at a tremendous speed here. For 10 all flat, and now for 11 track limits are put down here by the stewards, so you have to watch out for that as time it does run wide a bit. It lifts off a bit. It doesn't get anything off of it either. For 12 now he goes, and down towards turn 13, very deep on the brakes, difficult to hit that apex and get the traction down right away. And then for the last corner, it goes very tight. You can take multiple lines through here. He opts for type 1, DRS is open, and across the line QT time it goes, 1:15.1.
Certainly some time in that lap. We saw him running wide out of turn 11, and of course if you gain a significant advantage from that, the stewards will penalise you, but he did lift off, so no such harm done there. Zadova slightly behind, goes about 3/10 slower. Kriko, another qualifying specialist, outside bet in the championship, P6 at the moment, does go fastest, some 3/10s clear. Calvin, another man we often see impressing in these one-lap sessions, he goes onto the provisional front row Larkin on mediums for his first run, 1:59. So we'll see these first runs starting to come in. Eloy Sully's out there in the Ferrari. His teammate for the night, Bumpier, has come off that lap invalid, goes again. Behind that, it's going to be Ecos Marnix, who I believe is a new driver, debutant for this race, and he goes to P3 now as Sieb just replaces him 6,000s clear. So Kriko immediately, very nice banker lap. He goes fastest then. Sieb, another man we've seen impressing in that qualifying session, he goes second place, some 10th and a half behind.
Yeah, Marnix, to clarify, that is replaced Marnie from a couple earlier races he'd done, I think 2 if I'm not mistaken. He's joined Ecos there, and he's put himself into a decent position at the moment, and thing to note out for, there's obviously a bunch of guys going for the mediums early on. BenJS is the quickest out of them, which is not something we see often, to be honest. But 15.7 is a very, very solid time on a medium, so it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate such good pace on the soft later on in the session. Just looking around, I think Bumpy's on the lap. No, he's just invalid, unfortunately. Can't really find anyone else. Actually, Matt Tibble seems to be on the lap. He's coming through turn 5, just going on the throttle, and down towards turn 6 and 7.
Yeah, of course, you've got to manage it over the curbs, then keep it nice and tight through the exit. Now, into this fantastic part of the track. This is where the tyres are under high or low. This is where the temperatures can spike. Matt Tibbles then, of course, flat through turn 10. Full commitment needed here. Through turn 11, catches a bit of understeer, keeps it nicely within the track limits, though. 53.7 the time to the first two sectors. On the brakes. Head towards turn number 12. Keeps it nicely on traction. Can get away if you. Turn 13. Keeps winding and winding. You're patient with that right foot. Short shifting a little bit to keep that traction. Now, towards that final corner, Matt Tibbles taking a slightly wider approach, later apex, fighting the car a little bit on exit, gets away nicely, crosses the line, goes 6th, 1:15.256 the time for Matt Tibbles. The rest of the field has decided to retire to the pit lane. They will re-emerge sometime soon. I can already see a Red Bull moving out of there. Creco dominant on the first runs, only man into the 114s. We'll see what the rest of the field can do further down the line. Zedema's going to kick off the second runs as he sets off onto his outlap. Certainly a few scruffy laps in there, but Creco certainly with that early pace. 1:14.8. We'll see how the rest of the field responds as we get into the second phase of quali.
Yeah, it's definitely a decent banker to start off with for the AlphaTauri. 2.5 tenths clear of everyone else at the moment. But the mediums are a second and a bit slower, I'd say. So there's definitely guys like BenJS, Ferg, Larkin who will be looking out for, and they'll be trying to set a lap as well, and as well as guys who haven't set any laps like Slash and Jaco, who can definitely be up there on their day.
Yeah, certainly. Larkin, by the way, was the first one out on track that did set their first laps on the medium tyre first off, so we'll see what he can do further down the session. Currently 59, BenJS, as you said, very good lap on those medium tyres, and he could certainly look to try and get himself up there. We've seen him though plenty of times with the pace to do great things. Hasn't quite worked out in the end, so he's going to look to get something more out of this then. XL Zarama, not a qualifying specialist by any means. He'll try and do what he can then as the Red Bull driver. You can see he takes that very wide line to set up that exit. You've got to slingshot yourself off the last corner of the way. Zarama over the line to get things kicked off then. Looking to the left hand side. Spot your braking point for turn him on just before that curb. Turns it very early then to ensure he makes that apex. Now onto the throttle. DRS open again as you head up towards turn number 2. Is he going to use up a little bit of that curb to turn the car in? Brakes very late though, catches a bit of understeer, tries to rotate the car, keep the momentum flowing, flat through turn 3, and now on the rise, uphill towards turn number 4, actually backs off that lap, so he must have been happy. We saw that mistake he made at turn number 2, so he did in the end come off that lap. Larkin behind now on the medium, on the soft tyre. Of course we saw that medium run earlier on, so XL Larkin powering up now towards turn 4. What's the first sector time looking like? It's quick. It's a 26.6. Gets a little bit of understeer, holds it together through the sketchy turn number 4. Gets almost onto the curb through 5. You don't want to be touching that too much. You can spit the car out and spin you around. Bit out of shape throughout the chicane. Holds it nicely together. Now swing it through turn number 8. Turn number 9. Catches a bit of understeer and oversteer on the way through. Larkin holds onto the car though. The experienced man in the Alpha runs slightly wide, does keep it going. He's 7 tenths up. It is a very good lap. We'll see if that lap is actually going to count. He'll look to improve on it later on in the session. Now, aggressively on the brakes and toward turn 13. Certainly wasn't the cleanest run through there. Larkin now towards that final corner. Manages to get the nose at just about. Opens the DRS up to the line. XL Larkin crosses. It's a 15-1, but I have to say, looking at that, there's a lot more time to be found for the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, definitely. The end of the lap didn't look that great. To be honest, Jacob said his first time. He's up into P7 now. And we're looking around, I think. I've just seen BenJS go into the wall there.
And that's coming out.
5.
That's coming out turn 5. I mentioned that curb that can certainly unsettle the car. BenJS, after a brilliant lap on mediums, just as we so often see, it comes undone for the Haas driver. And that is going to be it for his qualifying session. And a 15.7 I don't think is going to cut it in terms of him getting anywhere on this grid. So there's so much to be done. Timon, by the way, backed off a flyer. He's going to look to go again, improve. We'll see if he can manage that. That Screamer's behind him, so we can see these guys setting up for their laps. XL Zerma's 2 tenths up then, just navigating his way towards that final corner. We saw him, that first lap didn't quite come off. Now, punching out that final corner, uses much of that curve on the exit to carry the speed through, goes 4th. 115 flat. Marnix behind though does go fastest. 114.8, some 400s clear of Emily Krieger, who's sat in the pit lane in this middle part of the session. Sebe has just started a lap, and now we'll see some more times coming in later on, I expect, further down the line. Nathan JB round the final corner, and the McLaren crosses the line, goes third. He's into the 114s, 14.9, so Marnix with a very strong second run. Still, some of these times are improving coming in, but I think there's still a lot more time out there on that track, and the drivers are going to have to try and unlock it in the second half of the session.
Let's see if Coxey can do that. He crossed the line, goes P8. Sully earlier went on a 15.6 on medium, so that's one to look out for. Slash as well, 15.5.
Wow.
That's very quick. And Calvin goes quickest in the section, 14.6. 10th and a half ahead of Marnix at the moment. Ferg just starting his lap there. And looking around, I think Matt Tibbles is coming towards the end of the lap. He's a 10th down, but he might have some time in the final sector. Let's see. No, he's just about starting a new lap, actually. QRT Simon goes across the line. He is on a 14.5. He's goes quickest. That Scream goes quickest. They're all flying in now.
Yeah, I mentioned there was time on the track, and now they're starting to find it. That Scream, that's a great lap time, and just pepped in the end. 200ths is the margin. Up at the front of the field. Sebe to the line. He did a great first run. Finds a bit of time, not as much as he may have hoped in the Aston Martin. Fifth, 114.8. 3.5 is the time for the Aston Martin. So that Scream goes fastest then. About 6 minutes to go in the session. He is 19 thousandths clear of timing, so very evenly matched in those second runs. We'll see who can unlock more time in this track in the back end of the session. Do we have anyone that's going to step up to the plate? There is a McLaren heading around that final few corners. Calvin, but I think he has that was actually Nathan JB, my apologies. Calvin though
Ferg
backed off. Ferg is on one then in the second Red Bull. Can he navigate this final turn nicely? Watch the traction on exit. Very clean run. Ferg to the line, 16th, goes to third. 114.6. That's a very nice lap from the Red Bull. So you can see the track is improving. The drivers are getting to grips with it. The times, therefore, coming down. Matt Tibos crosses the line. Minute improvement. Goes to position 12. So I think that's going to be most of the second runs in the books. That Scream just about on pole. Again, we're seeing those 5 or 6 contenders setting themselves apart in this session from the rest. We'll see if anyone else can get a great lap in, because I think there's still time to be found. But that Scream, that's a very strong lap. Timing will be a bit gutted that he's not on that provisional pole, and as a championship leader he's going to work, make sure he's on that front of the grid spot. Then 200ths to find on that Scream. We'll see who can pull it out then. Delivering under pressure is the name of the game at this very high intensity qualifying session.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be just a little bit of a quiet point, I think. Everyone just obviously finishing up their second runs. I'm not sure what's going on with Funky Chickens, because I've just seen him drive into the pits, and it said out lap for him, and then went to a flying lap. So I'm not too sure. His car's just driven through the pits, not actually went in.
He's just re-emerged, has he? Yeah, that's very strange. I saw that he was on an out lap, and then he went in. I thought he was just making a rather bizarre strategy call, but as you said, he's just gone right through the pit lane and back out. So not entirely sure what's gone on there with Funky Chicken. He is no out on track. Now it does say he's on a flying lap, but obviously that is not the case. Whoa, he's ghosted inside the Ferrari of Sully, so I think he may have desynced somewhat, because that is highly unusual for that to transpire. Jaco, though, is furthest along in the first Mercedes at the moment in the session, 115.2. The time will be looking for quite a bit more. We can't rule out the likes of Slash and Sully. Even though they are down 15th and 16th, the pace they showed on those mediums really puts them in the mix, even for pole, if they can hook up a lap that's as good on the softs. Now it's saying Funky Chicken is in the pits when he's clearly out on track, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on there.
Oh,
Excel, he's just disappeared
to the pits.
No idea what's happening there, but XL Jekyll now opening up. I'll hand it over to you, Verstappen. Jekyll, 13th at the moment, will want more over the line, gets his final runs kicked off.
Yeah, just coming down towards turn 1, braking 75 meters around there just before that curb. Goes down into second gear and shifts to third, fourth to get that traction down as well as he can, the Mercedes. And down towards turn 2. Very nicely flicked in there and halted, runs it out very wide through turn 2 is an option you can do. And then through turn 3 flat he goes, and now down towards turn 4. Let's see, there's a very difficult corner, very blind as well. Takes it nicely, does the Mercedes, and holds it tight through 5th. then towards turn 6. Now 3rd gear, 4th gear, just a little bit of a wiggle there on the apex of turn 6. Bit out of shape there, and now through turn number 9 on the exit. Goes quite nicely there towards turn 10, and now 11. Let's see, can he make this one? Just about valid. Yes, he can. He's a 10th and a half up, so he could be on for that P11 here. Could be very important. Let's see what he does. He keeps on going now down towards turn 13. Very tight on the entry because that a bit deep, wide, a bit of traction loss there as well. So it's not looking like the quickest lap for Jaco here. To the line he goes, and he sets a 1:15.046 into P9 he goes.
I think he'll be begging to get knocked down just a couple of places. Sully may be the one to do that then. He's 53 flat to the first 2 sectors. Very quick. Comes up to the line. The Ferrari goes fastest. 1:14.4. LOI Sully. We saw the pace on the mediums, and now it's delivered on the soft. And that is the marker then. He's just under 1/10 clear. Who is going to be the driver to step up to the plate? There's been a spinner on an outlap. Coxey does recover the car just about, as we're starting to see those final runs now in full flow. Timon has started a lap. We'll keep an eye out on that Alfa Romeo all the way around. Everyone else beginning to gear themselves up to get those final runs underway. Sully with a great lap to start the late final stages of the session. Timon, low 0.6 first sector, very quick, just about 200ths up. We're going to see what he can pull off then. The championship leader, can he pull one out the bag? His teammate Larkin down in 12th. Either a poor man's pole position, P11, or he will try and go all the way, challenging, and he may have to because his teammate is flying along nicely in this middle sector. Keeps it within track bounds, heading through turn 9, watch it through turn 11, critical corner at the end of the S section, keeps it nicely within track limits. He's 2/10 of a second up. This could be huge. He's 1/10 faster than Sully was at this point in the lap. What can he do in the final sector? Very aggressive entry to turn 13, but he keeps it tight, keeps it narrow, opens up nicely towards turn number 14. Timon, he's pulled back the championship lead of Carmenslist. He leads going into this round, and as he comes up to the line, he smashes it onto pole. 1:14.3, huge lap for Timon. That scream is going to lap on the way though. We cannot overlook the man who topped the second runs in this session. So let's see what the field has got as we come up towards the line. Many of these drivers getting their laps kicked off. Larkin will be one of the last to cross the line, manages to just make it and get the laps kicked off. Jaco crosses, he's invalid, he's going to try and go again. So who is going to get the lap time in? Coxey is invalid, he was 2/10 up. That 2/10 will count for naught though in the closing stages of this session. What does Ferrick have? He dives to the pit lane, no improvement from him. Who is next up to step up to the plate? Matt Tibos coming round the final corner, he's 2/10 up, goes 10th, 14.8. Watch the times coming in now. It is Calvin in the McLaren, but he's invalid. The time won't count. Watch Slash then to the line, crosses it. It's a brilliantly fast lap, but not enough with the invalidation holding him back. Marnix is 2/10 up. This could burst him up the order, but he runs wide to the turn 14, and that's going to be it for his flying lap. He remains 6th for the moment. AlphaTauri time further down the track. That scream has gone to the pit lane then. His teammate Krigo goes 5th. Is that going to be it for them in this session? Zairaba dives in. Does anyone have anything left to give it this final stage in the session? It doesn't really look like it. Boompier has come off the lap. We know Timon set that lap time earlier. And Larkin, maybe the last one. Crucial in the championship. Larkin to the line, goes 2nd. That's a great lap in clutch time from XL Larkin. And it's an Alfa Romeo front row lockout in the end. So he just about pulled it out the bag then. Larkin gets himself onto the front row, and he'll be breathing a massive sigh of relief. His teammate and rival right in front of him. Alfa Romeo's locked out the front row, and yes, we said it was a great opportunity for those two, and they've taken full advantage of it in these last 18 minutes.
Yeah, definitely a great qualifying session there for both the Alfa Romeos, getting a 1-2 there, and we expected it from Timon. Probably as well from Larkin, but obviously he's not always the quickest in qualifying. It was a very good show in there from XL Larkin as well. Unfortunate to see from Ben JS and Slash, because both of them didn't get a representative time in on the softs. Be curious to see what they are going to do in the race, because they have to come from the back row here.
Yeah, that recovery going to be now in their hands. So yeah, Slash, Ben JS, Slash in particular, his lap, he did a 14.5. I think it would have been good enough for P5 on the grid. Funky checking his back out the session. We saw the desync issues. We'll see if he can get back in. We'll see if his car is actually in good shape. He's 16th on the grid. Didn't really get a clear run at the end of the qualifying session. In the end, 13 drivers under the 75-second barrier, so to speak. Timing, though, that's a huge lap. Again, pressure is on these Alfa Romeos. Just these, they will know their championship rivals are out. They're not competing, and they've got to take full advantage, and they've done just that. Timing from Larkin on the front row. Sully, once again, consistently up there pace-wise, with 2 wins as well in his last 2 races. He is 3rd on the grid. That Scream is 4th from Ferg. Krico is the 3rd row. Calvin Marnick's the 4th row. Sieb and Bumpier running at the top 10. Matt Tibos gets that could be all-important, potentially all-important P11 spot. We will see Zoudema 12th, then Nathan JP and Jaco. Cox is 15th from Funky Chicken, then Slasher Benji S. What could have been for both of those drivers, they will start from the rear of the field. So the work to do for them in the race. Timon takes that pole position, as I said. Top 10, of course, locked onto those softs, and I think one thing that you pointed out earlier, the strategy options at this track make this race an incredibly intriguing one to behold.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of variation there. I think you can make the one-stop from any tyre compounds almost work, in any variation you want to, for all 3. So, I have to see what these guys opt for. Obviously, the top 10 is going to start on the softs, and they're going to go in very early, either way. I don't see anyone going any further than maybe lap 8 or 9 at the very latest, and you have to really conserve the tires ready for that. And, but what tire they'll go onto will be interesting. You can stretch both the mediums and the hards. The hards are a bit easier, but obviously they will not be as quick, at least in the start of the stint. Towards the end, they might come back a little bit compared to the mediums, so that'll be interesting to see. And outside the top 10, it could be really anywhere. Anyone could go for that strategy, start on the softs and go for either of those tires, but I think likely enough we'll see mediums and hards being used outside the top 10 in any order, really. Could be a medium hards, could be hard medium, so we'll have to see what these guys up for.
Yes, certainly. So we'll see that, hopefully some variation, because that always makes things very intriguing to behold. You mentioned, of course, any combination could be feasible depending on how good you are on your tyres. So we'll see. There's certainly all different pit laps you can use. That's what makes racing at the Hungaroring so interesting. We'll see what these guys go for, as we aren't exactly loading in here. I know Funky Chicken dipped out. I'm hoping that hasn't messed up the lobby, because from my eyes anyway, we're just frozen and I'm staring at a pit lane right now.
Yeah, same here.
Right, so we'll see. I'll try and get you guys updates as soon as we can, because this lobby may not be in full order, because I think it may have something to do. Slash apparently is the bottleneck here, so we'll see if he leaves, it could potentially sort stuff out. So we'll see. And he does back out, and yes, we do get ourselves back onto track. So it's unfortunate for Slash. Of course, we know he has had issues with his network in the past. We'll see if he can get himself in the session again, but we'll look forward to the race now with those 8 drivers outside of the top 10, fairly split, 5 mediums, 3 hards for Verstappen. What do you make of it?
Yeah, roughly what I expected. Let's see. Exactly, I haven't actually looked at it. It's a bit mixed. Yeah, Zoudema is one going on the hards. It's not... I don't know if that's surprising or not, because he does like to be really good in his tire, so maybe a medium soft would even be possible for him here. But he's opted for the hards. It'll be interesting to see what he goes for. Jaco as well on the hards, and then Slash if he can get himself back in as well. So be a mix of strategy. The mediums will go in around anywhere between lap 10 and 15, 16, I reckon, and then the hards really anywhere, because you can opt quite early, go, let's go bold, let's say lap 10 you go in, you go for the mediums, you basically mirror the soft medium strategy, have slightly fresh tires, or you make the best of the mediums at the end and then go around lap 20. So there's a lot of strategy variation here in that aspect.
I love the options these drivers have, makes it very, very intriguing. We'll see. Of course, because we've got an 18 car grid, the majority by default will be on those softs. They just come towards the grid. Slash has just rejoined the session now. I'm not sure if he'll be in control of his car for the lights going out. We'll have a look at that. I don't think he will be, but we'll see. Timon leads Lark into the grid. That start is going to be oh so important then. It's not, surprisingly, it's actually a fairly long run towards turn number 1. So getting off the line well, that momentum can carry you through. We will see. Timon, Larkin, Sully, Dascream, the front 2 rows. We'll have a look and see how that's going to unfold. Timon and Larkin up at the front. These guys, they're teammates, but they're also fierce rivals, and you know that each one of them is going to be eyeing up that apex of turn 1 and very eager to get there first. The back of the grid is taking shape, and we're just about ready to get the 14th round of Division 2 action in Season 7 in League of Europe underway. So, here we go now. Everything is set on the grid then as the lights begin to come on for the Hungarian Grand Prix. We have 5 lights! And we're off the grid in Hungary. Who gets the best start from the front row of the 2 Alfa Romeos then? Timon gets away fairly nicely. Larkin was all over the road then. And he's trying to defend. There is Sully coming around the outside. Ferg deep on the brakes. And they're 3 abreast through turn number 1. But Timon's got away strongly. He leads Larkin. Ferg trying to get himself inside of the Alfa Romeo. It doesn't quite work out now as they filter through turn number 2 then. They're all keeping it as clean as they can. Side by side. You can see Krigo and Calvin. And Krigo just gets the upper hand. Forces the McLaren out of the way. He's P6 just behind his teammate then. Everyone else slotting in nicely then. Marnix is looking at Calvin. Can't quite get through as they stack themselves up through turn number 4. Looks fairly clean at the moment then. Matt Tibble seeing off Coxey. He's P11 then. He maintains his spot as best of the rest. Coxey trying to attack him. Can't quite find a way through. He's jumped down him off the start. J. Cole and Benji S fading away down the back of the field. Funky checking and Slash of course dropping off with the AI issues as the graphics just reset as the drivers get control of their car again. Timon though did all he needed to do. Larkin didn't get away well at all. Crucially, he held on to P2. Now he's got to focus on sticking with his teammate, not letting that DRS gap, that 1 second gap, open up then, and Timon will look to break away at the front.
Yeah, let's see if Larkin can stick with Timon here. And just want to point out that amazing start from Fergie guy. He was almost into P2 of the line, where he was starting at 5th. A great start from the Red Bull, and Timon setting obviously the fastest lap of the race. And luckily, I think Slash just got back in control of his car. Nathan JB is looking for a move on Zadama. He is going down the inside of turn 1. Should be a pretty easy move, and yes it is. Into P13 and McLaren goes.
I saw a flailing Red Bull out of turn 14. That must have been Zerma. Mistake drops him behind Nathan JB. Now runs 13th. 1 place outside the points. 3rd highest medium starter at the moment. Matt Tibbles, as I mentioned, leads those guys. The mediums. Such a good race tyre at this circuit. And Matt Tibbles staying comfortably with the soft train at the moment. We cannot look away though from these top 2. And Timon is giving this a really good go. He's 8 tenths clear with quite a bit more battery than Larkin. So he's setting himself a great pace. He did run wide though. And off the track through the chicane, he may have a bit, as I actually saw a marker board go flying off the circuit in the background. They re-emerged then, Timon from Larkin, 7 tenths, and I think that mistake from Timon may have just given Larkin that little bit of room to breathe. But of course, the detection point really isn't for another lap, and Larkin's still got to stay with it. But Timon, with a nearly 9-tenth gap at this stage, he may well be ruining that mistake, but Larkin behind has run wide as well, and that just gives Timon that little advantage. So scrappy for both Alfa Romeos then. Just 1/10 between DRS and not DRS for Larkin. Ferg is pressuring, Timon is pushing. Can he get the cap out? There's so little in it at the start of lap 3.
I think we could even see the first pit stops already this lap. Given some of these tyres looking like. Especially Larkin doesn't look very comfortable on these softs whatsoever. He's already a second down on Timon here. And Ferg is right on the chuff of him. And we'll have to see if the Red Bull can get past, or if Larkin's going to pit, or whatever is going to happen. Benji S has been pressuring Jake at the back of the grids, at the back of the train anyway. As I just seen Nathan JB go wide through turn 3, I think he must have had an oversteer snap out of turn 2. He emerges right behind, right ahead of J. Cole again. So he lost that position he made up. Calvin's been overtaken by Marnix. That's an interesting place to overtake. I'd like to see that one back. Marnix gets himself into P7.
Yeah, must have been opportunistic driving there for Marnix. Goes 7th. Calvin has to relinquish that, runs 8th. So those guys currently P7 and 8 at the moment, and nicely within the train still. Kriko up in front. Timon has put in a monster lap though, and Larkin is all over the road and he can't quite find pace at this early stage. And Timon is doing exactly what he needed to do, and he leads 1.4 seconds then. Larkin will not get the benefit of DRS. Ferg behind him though certainly will, and he's got more battery. Is he going to go on the offensive as the Red Bull? He's on the battery then, he's charging. Ferg trying to get up to Larkin here early in the race. Larkin covering the inside line. Ferg outside late on the brakes, trying to storm around the outside of the Alfa Romeo. He's going to get run out of space, just forced off the track. Larkin not having any of that. Ferg showing his intentions. Larkin so too though. Gets the elbows out, holds on. Benji S and Jekyll are scrapping at the back of the field. Jekyll looks inside trying to counter-attack. Benji S will sweep round the outside though and secure P15, trying to make his recovery drive after a missed opportunity in qualifying. Ferg certainly on the attack towards Larkin. He's looking good there, and Larkin low on battery. Save has gone through on Calvin now at the same spot as Marinix got through at the last lap, so Calvin not enjoying that part of the track, and he's down to P9 now, struggling early. And one thing we have to point out, tyre temperatures, maybe not at this stage on lap 4, but if you don't look after those softs, you can see them overheating.
Yeah, I think definitely they will be overheating as Marinix already gets the spin on lap number 4 as well. That will be due to the tyre temps as well, especially through turn 11. That is really going to burn up the left front essentially. And yeah, I'm surprised no one has gone in just yet. They're all sticking it out. They're all going to go for a soft medium. Be surprised if we don't see at least one person go for the hards here. Ferg is looking for a move on Larkin though.
He's looking towards the outside of turn number 1. Larkin covers it up, but he runs deep, and Ferg just covered off by Larkin on that switchback. And I think Larkin's P2 may just live another day. Ferg is all over him though, and looks significantly quicker. Timon's using this to his advantage. He's still got 2/3 of his battery, and is nicely up in front. 1.7 seconds of difference. It's looking like Russia all over again. Just a dominant masterclass here. Timon leads comfortably, but it's still early days. He's 1.8 to his teammate. Ferg has looked like getting through. He nearly got through at the start of lap 4, start of lap 5, but hasn't quite been able to complete the manoeuvre. Larkin has forced him long way around turn 1, and it's very difficult to pull off that manoeuvre. But of course, Larkin has to think about the championship as well, so Ferg may well just have that opportunity to be a bit more aggressive. Larkin though, now you can see that understeer kicking in through turn number 11. He is struggling. The screen behind is also getting detached. You can see certainly some drivers have looked after those softs. Actually, Timon has made a bit of an error on this lap, so the gap comes down a bit. Are we going to see pit stops? Timon not in, Larkin not in. In fact, it does seem like the majority are staying out. In fact, the entire soft train has elected to continue. Can Ferg attack Larkin this time? He's tucked in nicely in this slipstream, closing all the time, and Larkin's not going to fight this one. Ferg will cruise through to P2, and it's a timely overtake here because the gap has all of a sudden come down. Timon pushed like crazy in the first few laps, but has he not quite perhaps maintained those tyres as well? Because all of a sudden the race leader, the championship leader, really struggling out there, and Ferg now in P2 is chewing away at that gap.
Yeah, Ferg looks actually one of the quickest there, but also he has burned through his battery. And that opens maybe things up later on for Sully, who has still got a full tank, full battery here. 98% coming out of turn 5 there. Is he one to look out for? So I just seen a fossil lap being put in by Slash, which is not very realistic, at 115.2 in hearts. So it's very interesting as he did leave the session. I think he rejoined again, so obviously he's not having the best of connections at the moment. Let's hope that can be resolved later on, and maybe he can be brought back into it. Let's see, is Timon going for the pits? I'd be surprised if not so. So the timing board reset themselves once again. He's still electing to stay out, and all of these guys look like they are. Creeko's the first one to opt to go into the pits, and Marnix follows him in. Steve stays out, Calvin's in, Bumpy stays out as well.
Yeah, so all of those guys dive to the pit lane, 3 of them to be exact, go in at the end of lap number 6. So they will, I imagine, we'll see what the tyre choice is going to be, because it may be possible to take the mediums. And yeah, there's Calvin mediums, Marnix hards, Creeko hards. So I think it is possible to get the mediums to the end. We will see how well Calvin can hold on to those. Those guys will obviously drop to the back. They'll look to try and get them going as soon as possible. The undercut could be powerful though, because the softs are dropping off rapidly. Timon's re-established himself from Ferg. You can see Sully is all over Larkin, and Sully, well, we know he's got great quality pace, but we're seeing his race pace. He's got 2 wins in, I believe, only 5 races, throughout this season. So we've seen how clinical he can be, sitting on the back of Larkin, looking after those tyres right now, and showing incredible race pace so far in the Ferrari.
Yeah, he looks to be taking very well care of his tyres at the moment. Obviously, sitting behind someone is not the hardest thing to do, but nonetheless, he is looking to be control of that Ferrari, and I'd say watch out for him bouncing back later on in the race. Let's see, anyone reacting to Kriko's pit. Timon still stays out, Ferg is in, Larkin's in, Sully stays out, the Scream is following in his teammate, and Boompje is in as well. So another 4 cars in, let's see what tires they go on to.
Nathan JB in very early from the medium, so he may be going hard to the end, you'd imagine. We'll see now as the tyres go on then. You can see the litany of tyre choices being made. Ferg has opted for the medium, those yellow wall tyres, so is Larkin, that Scream hards, Boompje mediums, and Nathan JB on hards. We'll see where these guys emerge relative to all of the others then, as they come down the main straight. You watch out for Kriko then. He's side by side with Funky Chicken's AI car, gets emerged, and he comes out just shy of Larkin in front of him. So at the moment then, Kriko not able to gain much of a jump. That Screaming behind him is going to have to work though to make sure he's in DRS range. But the undercut hasn't quite worked out. Ferg and Larkin on mediums, those tyres can get up to temperature, up to that operating window very nicely, very soon. So those guys have benefited. They now run. They can probably go to the end. And Timon, you'd imagine, is going to have to react, or is he going to stay out? We will see. But I don't imagine he's going to want to let his teammate run too much of a different strategy. 3 soft runners still remain. Timon is about halfway through his battery. He's still managed to keep it nicely in order, but he does go to the pit lane now. Sully actually staying out, so he's electing to get the most out of those softs. Sieb stays out as well. Now this is going to be an interesting one. Timon had a decent lead, but Ferg now, critically, well, he's come up behind Slash. That's, of course, not going to hold him up too badly. Ferg will get through. The question is, though, where will he emerge as Timon dives to the pit lane? You'd imagine it's going to be mediums. It is indeed. Where does he come out then? Can he stay and fend off the intentions of Ferg and co coming up behind?
Yeah, and these two have dropped the rest of the pack as well, as Kriko's about 1.6 seconds behind as well. But I think Timon is maintaining just about this lead. Looks like he is, but Ferg has gotten into the DRS of him if he maintains that gap towards the end of the lap and towards the detection point. And this could be a very interesting race, and it'll be interesting to see where Sully and Sieb come out as well.
Yeah, but Timon does have a massive ERS advantage over the Ferg, and Ferg is burning everything he can because he knows that it is critical for him to remain in DRS range. Slash behind, of course, dropping back. These 3 guys then will be able to re-establish themselves from the likes of Kriko and that Scream move, going more cautious on strategy. Those hards will not be the tyre for this early point in the race. So we'll see Sully and Sieb, what the strategy is going to be for those guys. 2 seconds covers those two. Sully has burned off a good bit of his battery, of course, working hard. Now goes to the pit lane. It should be mediums you'd expect, and he should have a slight advantage in terms of tyre life on the guys in front. Sieb has decided to follow him in. Matt Tibbles is a very nice position on that alternate strategy. He leads Coxie out there. It's Zanoma in P3 under a bit of pressure from Ben GS, who goes inside towards turn number 1, will get through to P3 then on the road. Sully has actually gone for hards then, so he's gone cautious on strategy. Sieb more aggressive, and they're going to get jumped by some margin by staying out here. Sully, he looked almost the quickest man on track in the first stint. He re-emerges just in front of Kriko. Behind them, you can see that's going to be Slash re-emerging with Boompje. It's all better chaos then as they come out of the pit lane. Sully is re-emerged. Sieb is quite far back, and this Calvin and Martins have come together. Heading out of turn number 1. They come out, and safety car is obviously deployed. That's a huge crash. 2 cars stranded on the track. I couldn't see the incident unfold itself. Calvin and Martins come together, and what does this do? Because all of these guys staying out, you'd imagine these guys are all going to come in, but Matt Tibbles, Coxie, Ben GS are going to be forced onto the hards unless they bank on a safety car. Zoudema, J. Cole, they have to come in for mediums, surely, and they all of a sudden work themselves into a very nice position in this race.
You say forced into the hards. I don't think it's going to be that much of a different strategy. It's just force the medium hard runners to go slightly early onto the hards, and I think everyone is going to come in here. Yeah. You'd be very surprised if someone stays out. Yeah, everyone comes in. I think it's maybe it's a bit weird, but maybe screwed over Zedam and Jekyll the most, because they are going to have to run those mediums for a good 25 laps, where they're probably intending to go quite late on. So let's see where they come out on track, because obviously the safety car will help from some track position. I think Timon is still going to lead. For Matt Tibbles might come out towards P4 here. Can he be ahead of Sully? I think he will. He's going to be close with Larkin, actually. He's going to be ahead of Larkin. He's into P3. That is quite insane to see. Coxie's come out 5th, then Ben GS, then Sully. Preco and Simon are basically side by side. Simon might just come out ahead, so he's in a
Just let
decent
him through.
position. Yeah, he's have to let him back through, so it doesn't cause any issues. Don't think it has. Nathan JB at the back of the grid has elected to go in as well. Let's hope Slashes and Funky Chicken's car don't cause any issues here either, as they're ghosted at the moment.
Yeah, well, that we can now see. I mean, there is some variation in the tires, so we'll see how this is going to unfold. But yeah, essentially, we've got a split between mediums and hards, and I think just about the entire field is intending to go to the end of the. You'd imagine so. This means the mediums will keep a bit more life in them. The guys that pitted onto mediums a few laps ago, like Ferg and Larkin and Simon, those guys will be able, you'd imagine, to hold onto them just a little bit better, which is going to favour them later on in the race. Matt Tibos, of course, thrusted all of a sudden into track possession, and of course track possession is king around this circuit. And of course, yes, you'd imagine the safety car has bolstered his position, but in the end he showed great pace in that first stint to actually stick with the train, really. And so he's worked himself into that position. Hards for him is going to be interesting. Larkin will be furious that he didn't get out in front, because he wants to stick with the boat. He wants to keep Timon and Ferg within striking distance. Ferg now has a bit of a break because he can get that battery back and has more of a chance of sticking with Timon, who's looked by far the quickest man in terms of pace so far. Ferg has a lap over the tyres. We'll see how these guys get them in the operating window. Timon, of course, will be judging that. If he gets out of DRS, he can control the race, but Ferg knows that as well. So you're going to see, I imagine, a bit of a duel between those two to try and either break away from DRS, or in Ferg's case, stay within it.
Yeah, especially for the hard runners, it's going to be key to stick with the medium runners up ahead and then not lose too much touch anyway. Because they're relying essentially on the last 10 laps, around 10 laps, I'd say, to get their tyres up to the perfect window and be quicker than the medium runners, probably. So they need to stick with these medium runners of Time and Ferg and Larkin. You'd imagine is going to try and get past Matt Tibbles as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they can do that. And for Sedem and Jacob, it's going to be key to get through the field as quickly as they can. They're now 9th and 10th. It's not bad, to say the least. Let's see where they can get up to.
Yes, we're actually seeing Ferg has actually dropped it. Ferg has dropped it, and is there anyone that's going to have to get that back? No. So Ferg has just made a, let's be honest, a crucial error, and he slips down to 5th. He was looking at, we were already treating it as an afterthought that he was going to try and stick with Timon, but now down into 5th, you know, now he's going to have to try and recover it on track. But from 2nd to 5th, a critical mistake. And what this has done for Timon, Matt Tibos is behind, of course, those hards will come good later on in the race. But on this restart, well, he's not had much of a chance to get them up to temperature. QRT Timon has an amazing opportunity here to establish a gap.
Definitely does, and so it's just going to go in this lap, and let's see where he takes his restarts going. I think the usual play is here just to go at the final corner, take a wide approach, and then slingshot it in. But let's see, maybe he has different ideas here.
Maybe he can catch Matt Tibbles off guard. Matt Tibbles, of course, on high alert with one brilliant victory for the season so far. We'll see how he reacts then, how he responds. Timon does go early out of turn 13, and Matt Tibbles has been caught napping just slightly, and you can see the understeer then, the hard tyres just not quite biting, and 7/10 is the gap already. Larkin's going to have to move here, but Timon has established a gap. Matt Tibbles weaving down the straight to try and get temperature into those tyres. Ferg is looking at Coxey, dives inside at turn number 1. Can he get it stopped in turn 10? Yes, he can. Ferg recovers one of those lost positions. He is 4th on the road. Larkin now inside towards turn number 2. Inside of Matt Tibbles, and Matt Tibbles has to let it go. Larkin, a crucial move, and now though he's dropped out of that DRS bridge already, gonna have to try and work his way back in. Nathan JB, they've all managed to get around the AI cars of Slash and Funky Chicken further down the field. No real moves further down, of course. Hard to make those moves here. Overtaking, of course, extremely difficult here in Hungary, so behind they all managed to maintain position. Good move from Ferg, and crucial move for Larkin to get past Matt Tibbles early. Matt Tibbles still is going to struggle a bit on those hards early, trying to get them up to temperature as soon as he can to hold on. Larkin and Timon in, a bit of a battle commencing then. They're even on battery, they're pushing all the way. It's just a question of, on these mediums, who has the raw pace to try and either, as I said earlier, get in that DRS range, or for Timon to break away.
Yeah, Larkin looked to be earlier on the softs, the one that was struggling more with the tyres. Now that the mediums still be easier to control on tyre temperatures, maybe Larkin has an advantage in that sense, and maybe he can close back up to Timon. He has used his battery to do so, and he's now 9 tenths behind, less than 9 tenths. So he's going to get the DRS likely enough. Ferg is looking for a move from Matt Tibbles down to the inside of turn 1. He's going to make that one stick. Matt Tibbles doesn't really defend that. Leaves the door a bit open, and Zedeman's going for a move on Kriko as well for P8, and he has gotten past quite easily as well. So both Red Bulls making moves.
They should be theoretically the fastest cars on track with the freshest medium tyres, and moving now is Zenoma. He runs 8th on the road. Sully next up. We've seen his great race pace in the first stint, but now he's bottled up behind Ben JS, behind Coxey, behind Matt Tebos now, who runs 4th, and Matt Tebos holding up Coxey, Ben JS. They're all beginning to stack up behind the Williams man. Ferg is now establishing a bit of no man's land, and Larkin so far is doing a fantastic job. The gap was about 1.2 seconds when he got through Matt Tebos. He's built back a couple of tenths on Timon, and the pressure then may well be on the Dutchman to try and re-establish that gap. But of course DRS won't be in use for a little while, and Timon has more battery. So Timon, he's let Larkin come to him. Can he re-establish that advantage on the next lap? Larkin is pushing with all he can though to stay within range. 8 tenths is the gap as they come up towards the line at the end of lap 14. Larkin a bit of understeer to the final corner. Every little mistake is going to cost either one of these drivers. DRS enabled will not be in action though for some time yet. 8 tenths is the difference. Over the line behind Matt Tibble seems to be struggling for pace. Coxey is looking at him. Jaco is attacking Kriko inside towards turn number 1 on the brakes, and Jaco will easily secure that place, and he follows Zonema through from the previous lap. So Jaco to P9 then. They're all re-establishing possession, and the medium runner is beginning to work their way through. Zonema has caught to Sully. We'll see what he can do and what's now going to become a bit of a DRS train. Timon though, you have to say, he's run wide at turn 4. The gap is now 6 tenths of a second. Larkin has pushed a lot more, and Timon, I think, I know he's looking to try and preserve that battery, but could he have burned a bit more? Because Larkin, he's showing great pace, but he's went all in those last few laps, and right now it seems to be working. His Timon now, you'd imagine it's going to be difficult for him. The gap is 8 tenths, but Larkin right now is just about doing enough.
Yeah, he just about is, but it could just be a case of Timon being comfortable with his own pace, and he's just going to let Larkin do basically what he wants. Have to see though, maybe he's going to try and pull away later on in the stints. And Matt Tibbles, I have to say, is dropping back quite a bit. Ferg is not really catching these Alfa Romeos, but he has broken away from the train. These hard runners are pulling up Sadama and Jago at the moment, and they're the ones who are going to have to make moves, but Sully looks very quick, so it's not going to be easy to get past him.
Yeah, Sully is looking towards Benjies, but of course will not get near enough. Both those guys very nice and high on battery, which adds to your point, going to make it difficult for Sully and for Zedema and Jaco to find those manoeuvres as they try and chase all the way up to possibly P4 in this train. I'm loving this. Slash and Funky Chicken are swapping places down the back of the field in their AI cars, and let's just say there's not much to separate them at the moment then. Funky Chicken with a slight edge on Slash heading up towards turn number 4. We'll see how that battle is going to unfold further throughout the race. Larkin though has caught right towards Timon. He makes a bit of an error through the chicane and actually catches a lot of understeer heading through turn number 8, but he is nicely tucked in with the DRS range time, and he does look comfortable. He doesn't look like he's offered much resistance towards Larkin coming at him, so 6 tenths is the difference, and in reality Timon going to find it very difficult to re-establish, so I think he's going to cruise here probably in this middle phase of the race. Larkin, I imagine, is also going to cruise, so probably you're going to see a bit of a high-speed chess match between the two of them. 7 tenths, 3/4 of a second is the gap over the line. Ferg is working his way towards him, and obviously if these guys are cruising, it does allow Ferg to work his way back. He's a few tenths in the last lap, coming up towards Larkin. Can he work his way to within range and just get himself into this lead fight with those two Alfa Romeos?
Yeah, let's look if he can do that. Meanwhile, Matt Tibbs is still leading this train, but because Coxey and Benjies don't really look that much quicker, they're just happy to stand behind, and it again enhances that effect of the medium runners being completely bottled up here. And it's going to be very frustrating for them, because they have to make these medium tires, while they're at their prime, they have to make them work as well as they can, and they're just not doing that right now.
Yeah, at the moment they're using the best of these tyres right now, and of course later on in the stint that's when the opportunities are going to start to fade away in theory, so they're going to have to try and create something now. But I mean, Sully in front of him with 80% of battery. Saudama does have more, but does he have enough to create a move? BenJS has made a few mistakes in the middle part of this lap, which has backed him up towards Sully, but if he can keep DRS, he can defend that place fairly nicely as well. Timon, Larkin, Ferg hasn't really been able to pull it back. The gap is remaining fairly steady, about 1.5 seconds, give or take the boost that Larkin gets from DRS, and he's still having to use quite a bit more battery. Timon looks to be fairly comfortable on pace. Larkin, though, can easily use that to close in. So we'll see how these guys are going to approach this. Larkin does go very deep on the brakes into turn 1, gets it stopped and turns in and re-emerges half a second shy. Still no real moves in the train. You can see these guys. Coxey, as you mentioned, he's not really much faster. He's happy to sit behind Matt Tibbles. And if these guys don't battle, the opportunities for Zedema and Jaco just dissipate. And Zedema now not quite onto Sully. Sully actually looks more threatening to BenJS. He did get a bit out of shape through turn 2. But right now, you have to say that if you want to get through in this train, you're going to have to send something aggressive, and if you send something aggressive, well, you know the consequences of that. So, Sully, again, a little bit of a mistake. Zedema, though, and Jekyll, they can't quite draw just near enough. Sully, as I say, does go round. Sully with a mistake into the wall. Damages the front wing, not out of the race. I said he was sliding, he was all over the road, and that is a crucial mistake, because it does allow Zedema and Jekyll and Sully, who has been so clinical in the last few races, looked so good early on, now dropping back to P14. He was flirting with that, making mistakes. Bumpy gets thrown that scream further down the field. But Sully, you saw the slides, you saw the mistakes, and eventually one mistake too far. Seed down the inside. He manages to just force a little bit wide of that screen. Bumpy gets a 5-second penalty for an illegal overtake, which is very odd because I didn't really see that. Seeb coming up towards that screen, looking inside towards turn number 1. The inside is not going to be defended hard from that screen. So Seeb inside now, heavy on the curb, not going to get the best traction through on exit. Better wheel-to-wheel contact between them both. That screen just half a car like the head to turn 2. Seeb sends it right. It's a wheel-to-wheel contact and round goes Seeb, and I think he may have collected Nathan JB. No, Nathan JB did get through on that. Seeb recovers, but that was certainly, well, you can see that's just the way it goes with Codemaster's contact mode. You go round the outside and you get spat out. And Seeb, well, he went for an aggressive move, and I said you can make those aggressive moves, but a lot of the time you can pay that price.
Yeah, it's definitely, as you said, a bit of a weird contact model thing. I was quite surprised he went around that way. But, yeah, maybe he can fight his way back towards the train if he's got enough pace. He does have mediums, and obviously this train is still being clogged up by the hard runners. So, he could still have a chance at some sort of points here, especially with Bumpy now having a 5-second pen. I'm not too sure if that's going to get removed or not. I don't know really what happened. He overtook him around turn 11. Not sure how or why he did that, but you know, he's gonna pass there. He's got a 5-second pin. It's gonna cork him up a little bit more. At the meantime, Zedema's gonna place up. Next up is BenJS, and is he gonna be able to get through on him? It looks definitely less quick than Sully did, but if he just has the DRS, it's gonna be very difficult for Zedema.
Oh, Zedema runs into the back of BenJS there as they all checked up behind Coxey. Coxey was slightly slowed through turn 2, and that's caught Zedema out. I don't think he's got damage from that, but a bit of a heart and mouth moment for both BenJS and Zedema. Looks like Zedema is all fine. BenJS is all fine. And again, Coxey, what's happening? He's taking very wide entries into a lot of these corners, and that's forcing them to stack up in behind the Aston Martin man who runs 5th. Matt Tibbles does seem to be backing them up though. Coxey though, still content to sit in behind. BenJS actually has more battery than either of these guys, and obviously so do Jekyll and Zedema. But you can see the pressure is reapplying. Zedema's got to get on with that then. BenJS, a few mistakes could open the door. Zedema, of course, fainting inside, doesn't get through. But Coxey, those wide entries he's taking to pretty much every corner, it's threatening to catch out the drivers behind as they all stack up concertina heading into this braking zone. So they'll have to watch out for each other and make sure nothing goes wrong.
Meantime, Ferg is closing slowly but surely. It was 1.2 at the start of straight. Obviously the DRS effect has just gained Larkin a little bit again, but if he keeps on closing slowly, then he might have a chance towards the end of the race. If one mistake happens, he's within DRS, I reckon. So be on the watch out for that one.
Yeah, these front two though, they do seem to have a bit of pace in hand, but they aren't really interested in pushing. I mean, Timon has 80% battery, Larkin about 65, so they're both very comfortable at this stage, just running together. They are, of course, rivals. They are teammates. They do not want to be running into each other because, well, first of all, you don't want to hit your teammate in motorsport, and second of all, that's going to completely negate the absences of Carmentalist and Gary. And they will, of course, be praying that these guys come together to keep themselves in the fight heading into the final 3 rounds. There's been another swap in the battle between Slash and Funky Chicken. Slash on the move down the straight with DRS gets into P15 on the road then, just in front of the AI car of Funky Chicken. Zairuma and Jekyll don't look overly threatening though. They have to essentially just get alongside on the exit of one of these critical corners, turn 14 or turn 1. But ultimately they can't get through. Ben GS is looking at Coxey. They're all half threatening each other. Matt Tibble still can maintain this spot fairly comfortably. Ferg got as close as ever to DRS on Lark and can't quite manage it, but he's doing all he can to get into this leading fight. 1.4 is the gap as it opens up down the straight. Zaida was close to Ben GS, but coming from distance, there's no real huge braking zones at this track to be able to set up your moves. Turn 2, there's not a big braking zone at all. He is close here at Ben GS, he feints inside, but if you're not alongside here, well, coming from distance, very, very difficult at Hungary.
Yeah, definitely, unless it's turn 1 he have a tyre advantage, he can't really do that. He does have the tyre advantage for now, so maybe there's a chance there, but in turn 2 there's not really a move on, a diving move anyway. So he just has to stick in behind for now, and it's going to take him longer and longer, and the tyre advantage is going to fade away very, very soon, I think. And it's going to just play into the hands of Matt Tibbles, of Coxey, and of Ben JS, so he really has to get a move on. Otherwise, he's going to get very, very stuck here.
Ben GS is having a lot of moments through turn number 11, but he's able to hold on nicely in front of Zairuma. Zairuma definitely getting a bit more impatient, definitely setting those moves. Jekyll as well is eagerly anticipating. Kriko, Bumpier, That Scream, Nathan JB, they're all in this train and they're hoping, of course, for some mistakes. And there's a mistake actually from Kriko, and Bumpier sails straight around the outside of the P9. He does have that 5-second penalty, which may well get removed, but he does take the initiative, does take that opportunity that was given to him, and he now runs 9th on the road, Kriko down to 10th, and the AlphaTauris, they run together, but the safety car, along with the fairly cautious strategy they went for, ultimately hasn't worked to their advantage in the slightest. So they run P10, P11 on the road, P9, P10 in terms of penalties provisionally. Matt Tibble still holding up from Coxey. There's really not much opportunity for these guys to get the moves done. Larkin sits behind Timon fairly comfortably, so it's fairly static at the moment then. Everyone just sitting and waiting, or at least Larkin is sitting and waiting. But Timon looks maybe just have that extra 10th a lap on Larkin, and Larkin, well, you'd imagine he's still pushing. He has a lot of battery to use, but Timon has more to use, and Larkin, even though he's got DRS, when he wants to make that move, I imagine forcing the move on his teammate is going to be quite a difficult task for the Brit then, because Timon looks to have supreme pace, and Larkin following, doing all he can. But if he can't quite get near enough when he has to, then Timon can use that battery to defend, and Larkin's chances of overtaking look to be slim. But one mistake, on the other hand, one mistake from Timon could really tip the balance.
It can definitely do so, and I guess for the same in this train in behind as well, but I don't think Coxey doesn't seem to be able to get close enough, or doesn't want to get close enough, for now anyway, to make any sort of move down towards turn 1. He's always 6-7 tenths behind, and that's just enough for Matt Tibbles to keep the lead and keep on holding this back up essentially, and benefiting his own results. And Nathan JB is looking close to the screen. He's been looking at it for a couple of times now, a couple of laps, but he doesn't seem to be able to get past, although he has the better exit there, but there's just no way past at this track in the middle sector. Even the end of the first sector is very, very difficult to do so.
Oh, Nathan JB
goes round there.
He's round. I think he manages to get away with it. I don't think he got damaged somehow. Maybe just a slight knock on the front wing, but Nathan JB, and sometimes when you get aggressive, you try and force the move. You can get tunnel vision, and that's when mistakes can happen. He recovers the car. He runs 13th. I think he's got away with it. It wasn't the hardest hit on the wall. He gets going again in the McLaren, but that's a costly mistake that sets him back. So that is gonna, well, it's gonna promote it's gonna promote, I believe, C-Bup behind P12. So yeah, not the of course the outcome that Nathan JB was after then. Just a critical mistake slips him back and out of the train. None of these guys can really make moves on each other. Ben GS can occasionally get close to Coxey. He's got battery. Coxey doesn't seem to have that much outright pace. And BenGS has done a good job of managing that battery, so whatever Zynama can throw at him, he's always got a counter and an answer for. So as good exits as Zynama can get off all these corners, he doesn't get a great one off turn 1 there, a bit of oversteer. But BenGS has the battery that he's managed so well to defend from Zynama, and possibly later in the race to attack those 2 cars in front that have significantly less to use.
In the meantime, Matt Tibbles, he is fairly low on the battery, so that might provide an opportunity for Coxie or BenGS to get a move done on the Williams driver there then. But yeah, so Nathan JB is in the pit as well. I think he's just going on some older meetings he was on at the start of the race. So that'll be him towards the end of the race. Maybe a safety car can bring him back, but for now he is well out of that point and well out of a chance of it anyways. Ferg still struggling to get
mistake!
close to these
Coxie at a turn 11 makes a mistake, it's oversteer, and now BenGS is through Zynama looking inside, bit of corner between him, and round goes Coxie, Zynama with him into the wall, and Coxie is out of the race! They come together! Coxie and Zynama fight for the same apex, safety car deployed, there's many cars past the pit lane, BenGS is able to get himself in, Jaco wasn't quick enough to react, Bumpier, Rico in, that scream follows, Jaco's missed the boat there, and the top 5 forced to stay out. Zynama and Coxie coming together. We'll see what we make about that. Maybe a steward's report. Busy pit lane now. We'll see what the tire choice is going to be, because now on lap 26 the softs can make it to the end and doors are open then. The question is, of course, those top 5 may yet have enough of an advantage to come out and get some fresh tyres on, so they may be saved by that. BenGS now soft, Rico behind, so imagine with Coxie now out, and Zynama, of course, into the pit lane after, I imagine, getting damage from that. Bitterly unfortunate for Coxie, but you'd imagine this safety car is going to level the playing field in terms of tyres, because, I mean, why not come in for fresh softs at this stage?
Yeah, and these guys that have already pitted already got still the Delta, so they won't lose anything until the leader catches the safety car, which is not going to happen until Timon actually gets to it. But this is going to throw an opportunity in for Ferg, because you'd imagine Larkin is going to come in and he's going to double stack behind his teammate. Obviously with a more recent-ish patch, it's not that bad anymore. He's dropped a bit of a gap actually, but it's still going to custom enough to be behind Ferg. Be interesting to see that play out. And yeah, I think on the incident between Coxie and Zynama, Coxie just looked like he lost traction and they tangled up and they couldn't really get rid of one another. And yeah, obviously sent him into the wall. All these guys are in, not surprising whatsoever. I just see softs all over the place, I think. So be interesting to see. Is Larkin held up enough? Yeah, he is behind Ferg now. So Ferg is up into P2 and that's going to provide an opportunity for him.
Yeah, and he will have some DRS in the last few laps as well to attack Timon if he can stay within that range. So we'll see what he can do. Larkin has to settle for P3 at the moment. Matt Tibbles will re-emerge 4th. Jaco 5th, or will they? Can BenGS get the jump on one of them? He's close to Jaco, but not quite close enough. Jaco maintains P5. So not much in the end change. Actually, Jaco, by staying out, I said he missed a trick, but ultimately it has gained him some track possession in on BenGS, so staying out just that one lap longer has benefited him, and now he runs 5th, and yeah, well, I said it was a mistake, but ultimately I've ate my words. Jaco, it's only one spot, but a critical one at that, and he manages to work his way into the top 5 here in net position.
Yeah, in the meantime, Boompius serves his 5-second time penalty, so he's down into P9. I think the screen may have had damage from an earlier incident. He was quite slow in those hearts, even those hearts are not that quick, but he was dropping off the train as well. Because he is now behind Bompia as well, so I'm guessing he has some sort of front wing damage. This has brought Seat back in it, because he's now in P8 again. So,
yeah, definitely that running order switching around just that little bit. Of course, a lot of that just comes down to Zynama being knocked back. Coxie, of course, out of the race. Slash and Funky Chicken's AI cars on older tyres. We'll see how that battle unfolds. Slash pulled a few seconds on Funky Chicken, but Funky Chicken with the hards could certainly come into their own in this final stint. And of course, if they can, well, try and stay with the DRS train of human soft runners, we'll see how about that. But yeah, Timon now leads Ferg. So Timon, of course, may see an opportunity to get a couple of extra points on Larkin here, as Larkin, through no real fault of his own, there was no choice. He had to, well, suck it up essentially and take the hit to go down to P3. And of course, he's either, well, if Ferg is caught napping, Larkin will try and benefit, but I imagine he's going to be hoping that Ferg is on complete alert here and onto Thyman. So we saw Ferg, he lost out early in the race, he's been rewarded for his tenacity, he's stuck with it, pushed those two Alfa Romeos hard, close enough anyway to capitalise, and now he runs second, and let's be honest here, he's not out with a shot of the win if he can pressure Thyman enough.
Yeah, let's see if he can do that. His pace has looked quite promising this race, and very impressive so far, but Larkin is, you'd imagine, he's thinking two things right now. He thinks, well, Ferg can attack Thyman, but I need my track position as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how he plays this, if he's going to try and push Ferg to go for the move on his teammate, or is he going to go for it himself. So be interesting to see.
Yes, certainly. I think we will get back to racing on this lap. Nathan JB will join the back of the train, the safety car train, and then we will well get things underway. Ferg laying off time in a little bit, then he will of course close up when it will be announced. So it will be out of turn 11 where we will see Thyman back up. Safety car should be announced to come in any second now, and that's when we'll see things start to get a bit wild. So there we go, and Thyman now begins to back up the pack. Ferg, Larkin, Matt Tibbles now on better tires. They're all on high alert then, looking for that restart. Thyman went out of turn 13 last time. He's going to have to wait, of course, that safety car heading towards the pit lane. Ferg eagerly anticipating that planting of the right foot from Thyman as they head it through the final few corners. Thyman went here last time. Looks like he's going to go again, and he bolts away. He gets a decent jump on Ferg. Ferg trying to react to it. Half a second is the gap as they come up towards the line. So Thyman a decent start, but Ferg's reacted decently enough, and he's within half a second and using that slipstream now. BenJS with a good start. Can't quite pressure Jekyll enough, though, I don't think, towards turn 1 remains P6. No one really in range for a move further down the order, so they're all going to have to tuck in. I think BenJS is trying to get to Jekyll, won't get near enough towards turn 2, so they all settle in. Matt Tibbles got caught napping a little bit. He's slipping back to the three men that have dominated tonight. They're all sticking nicely within range of each other. Thyman has used a lot of battery on that restart predictably, but it's not quite enough for now. Ferg has reacted well enough, and he's sticking within range. Thyman, Ferg now, and Larkin. That battle emerges. Matt Tibbles has dropped back. Sully has gone out of the race, heading further down the order. That's heading at turn number 4. And we'll see about that if he's come back onto the track. So Sully, well, a race that started promising, hasn't quite worked out, but by the looks of things, his car's going to be cleared. Yes, it is green flag, so he does get back on. So the race will be relatively unaffected, besides Sully out of the race, unfortunately for him. So all points are guaranteed to anyone that sees a checkered flag. But Thyman leads Ferg 0.6 of a second. Ferg, though, has done well enough. Thyman has used as much battery as he can, but Ferg looks comfortable sitting within range for now.
He does, and obviously it'll be a couple laps until the DRS gets activated officially on lap number 31, but obviously won't be used until going on to lap 32. You want BenJS is looking onto the back of Jekyll, not close enough. Seep is looking at Kriko down towards turn 1. He's getting very close to the back of him, but can't really get a move done. And I think there'll be a similar thing to what we saw earlier. Just these guys being cut up a bit behind Matt Tibbles and Jekyll in this case, instead of Ryan Coxey anyway. So, yeah, these guys are all a bit bunched up now. BenJS looking like the quicker one out of the top 3 of this train anyway. So it'll be interesting to see if he can find a way past Jekyll soon.
There are a few mistakes from Jekyll then. I can see him wade through the chicane as well. Matt Tibbles has got decent enough pace keeping him at bay for now, and BenJS does look to be the faster of the 3, but can't quite find a way through it just yet. We'll see what happens with DRS, as you mentioned earlier. We'll see it officially activated at the end of this lap, but not really into use at the end of until the end of the next lap. Nathan JB with a time penalty, but ultimately not going to have much effect in his finishing position at the moment. 12th on the road. We'll try and go on the attack, try and salvage something from this Grand Prix. The gap still remains fairly static up at the front. Larkin is having to work a bit harder though to stay with it. Ferg, comparatively, looks very, very comfortable. He's got more battery than either of the Alfa Romeos, particularly Larkin, who's really pushing to try and stay within range. And Thyman is going to be aware of the presence of the Red Bull in behind. Ferg We saw him fighting on the mediums to get within range. Now on the softs, he looks arguably to be the quicker one. And of course, tire temperatures is going to come into it. And we saw Ferg, well, he did struggle a bit in the first step. We'll see, he makes a bit of an error through turn 4, keeps it within track limits, but he's sitting right behind. Larkin has also re-emerged at the end, so Timon, it seems, at the moment, despite dominating the main portion of this race, we'll see what he has in the last few laps. He's trying to save whatever battery he can, but ultimately he doesn't look overly quick, and Ferg is easily able to stick very, very close behind the race leader.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he wants to go for this move early on. Obviously, you know, the DRS game, they like to play at times. Let's see if Ferg is going to try and get this done early, or is he going to wait for it? He does look very quick at the moment. Maybe Timon has burned up his tires a little bit too much then in the earliest phase of the safety car restart. Is he close enough for a move? Timon looks to be quick for this last sector though, so it's going to be tough to get a move done. DRS is now activated for the Red Bull. Doesn't look to be engaging any of his ERS yet, so he's sitting in mind. He's going to wait for a better opportunity. Ben JS is looking for a move down towards turn 1 on Jaco. Is he going to make this one stick? He goes late on the break, very late. Is he going to make that one stick? Does look like he has a good chance of doing so, still side by side down towards turn 2. I don't think Jaco's going to give this up anytime soon. Goes tight towards the apex and is going to run Benjes out wide, but Benjes sticks it, and I think he's going to make this work. No, yes, so Jaco hangs it around the outside, still side by side down towards turn 4. This can't go too well. Benjes has to back out, and Jaco holds on just about to the position.
That was brilliant driving from those two then, and Jaco just about sees off the intentions of Ben JS in behind, who's throwing everything at the Mercedes, trying to get that top 5 out there on the circuit at the moment. Then they run P5, P6, Timon leads 6/10 from Ferg. Ferg has got about 20% more battery, but as you mentioned, Timon has some strength in this last sector, and will Ferg have pushed the tires a bit too much too early? We will see. The gap that is Nathan JB, somehow another penalty, going for broke further down the field, but ultimately not quite working out. Timon has enough in hand at this stage, and Ferg is going to be the one to try and have the initiative then. Larkin can't quite get near enough, and now the battery is starting to get burned from Ferg, but look at the closing speed. He won't get close enough to make the move, but we've seen the aggression throughout this race from Ferg, making moves, and now he tries to hone in, but does he have the tires to keep this going? 5 laps on the tires, you can start to straddle with potentially overheating them. Timon is aggressive on the curb through turn 2, and aggressive on the curb on the exit. He's certainly not lying down and accepting this. He's pushing and taking risks to make sure he can see off this race win and as many points as he can muster from this Hungarian Grand Prix. He leads Ferg by 4/10 of a second, and Larkin within a second of the race lead, eagerly anticipating any opportunities opening up. Matt Tibos has made a few errors. I think Jaco has come up towards him, and Ben GS all of a sudden isn't quite harrying Jaco like he was before, so the Mercedes has rallied at this late point in the race. Can he create a move? Coming up now with 2 laps to go, the gap for the lead under half a second. Timon under immense pressure here. Can he see it through? We've seen Ferg straight line speed. We've seen him make the lunge if he has to. Timon is going to be aware of that, and he has to think about the championship here. So over the line now, the gap just under half a second. Is Ferg going to go early? Is he going to wait? He's on the battery here, but so is Timon in defense. So let's see there as they come down the straight. Timon aggressively cuts off the slipstream. Here comes Ferg to the outside of turn 1. Lay on the brakes, trying to go all the way around the outside. Can he get the move done then? He's manages to plant himself alongside, but Timon covers it off to turn 2, moves back across, doesn't get much space, round the outside for the lead. Ferg, they almost come together. Ferg gets alongside, gets through. What a move from Ferg, that was outstanding. Timon did all he could to cover it off, but Ferg makes the move, and Matt Tibos has dropped back down the field. Jaco and BGS through, P4, P5 from those guys. That was as hard defensively as Timon was willing to go. Ferg, a great move to get the job done. The question is though, can the Alfa Romeo fight back late in the day?
I think fighting that time I may have burned up his tires because Larkin is looking out onto the back of his teammate, and he is looking to pounce on this as well. Time not having a lot of ERS anymore with just over a lap to go. And Larkin still has about 60%, so he is going to go onto the attack. You reckon? Are they going to come together? You'd hope not, but Timon is going to go for a move. He's going to try and get back at Ferg, but I don't think he's got a good enough an exit. Ferg has got an amazing exit. He uses all his battery. Larkin is now looking onto the attack of his teammate now into the final lap of the race. Timon is flashing his red light.
Oh,
and
Larkin!
Larkin sends it, launches it. Danny inside of turn 1. Can he make this one stick? Still, bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. Timon gets a better exit. Larkin is now still onto the attack. Has more ERS. Randy out of the turn 2. Can he do this one? Still wheel-to-wheel they go. And Larkin around the outside doesn't quite make the same move progress, but he has more ERS. Is he going to go for it? He's still holding it side by side. Randy outside of turn 4.
Oh, they come together!
Bit of track, and Timon has to back out, has to yield a bit of contact there as well, and Larkin's up at the P2 there.
Two teammates coming into contact. That was fierce, and I'm not sure about that. I think it was a racing incident at turn 4. If I've got to be honest, I don't think Larkin did much wrong there. He tried to hang around the outside. It was so committed, both of them with a shabby chip on the line. But have they both been overcame by the Red Bull man, Ariel Ferg? He's been under pressure all the way throughout the night. He's pushed all the way through, and now heading to the final few corners, he attacked time and he gave it everything, and everything is gonna be enough for the Red Bull man round the final corner for the final time of the Hungary ring. It's a brilliant win for Ariel Fer. Crosses the line, P1 from Larkin second. Timon furious as he comes over the line third. He dominated 95% of that race, but the other 5% matters most. Checo fourth from Ben JS. Kriko, Matt Tebos, who slipped back, barely beat Sebo over the line. Boompier Zerno rounds out the top 10. That's Screaming Nathan JB. That will be your finishing order. What a conclusion to the Hungarian Grand Prix. That was one of the best fights for the win I think we've seen all season with, I think, to be honest, it was all clean up in front. We saw the two alphas coming together, but I do think that was a bit of a racing incident. We'll see if those guys are going to disagree. We can get them in for interviews later on. But Ferg, my oh my, to push like that all the way through, put the pressure on, and in the end, it came good for Ariel Ferg in only his third race of the season. No points, but he was absolutely clinical, brilliant stuff tonight, and he's come away with the race win after a spectacular move for the lead on the penultimate lap.
Yeah, that move was absolutely insane around the outside of turn 2 and then holding it for turn 3 and making that one stick. Absolutely great move. And he wins this race ahead of Larkin and Timon, who round out the podium. Then Jake on Ben JS, very solid races for the both of them. Bit of luck on the safety, you could argue, but still, nevertheless, done very well. Kriko make the late move on Matt Tibbles for P6, who drops down to P7. Seep tried it across the line, was less than a tenth behind. He's in P8, then Bumpy in P9 after getting that 5 second. Decent recovery, definitely to say the least. Sideman in P10 after his collision with Coxey. Then the Scream in P11 and Nathan JB rounds out top 12. Then we have Slash, Funky Chick, and his AI cars who are driving about. Says Slash is the fastest lap. It is gonna go, I think, actually to Timon, if I'm not mistaken there. So for the standings, that needs to be noted down. Sully, Coxey, Calvin, and Marnix obviously not finishing, and that's unfortunate to see for them. Let's see if we can get these guys in for interviews.
Well, yeah, I think it must be done. I think we have to get these guys in. There's going to be plenty to say after that Hungarian Grand Prix. Ferg, Larkin, Timon, they're the drivers that hopefully we're going to be hearing from. And Ferg, I mean, the man, of course, he is a reserve driver. He has raced twice, didn't score in either race, and he's come through here and he's won the race. I mean, what can you expect from Division 2 at this point then, in what has arguably been its most chaotic and unpredictable season? So we'll see if we can hear from those guys, well, in some cases, if they're in the mood to talk. Of course, the Alfa Romeo 1-2 that looked so likely for so long, not coming to fruition, and it does, although there's very, very good points for both Larkin and Timon. The fact that they didn't win, it does just about keep Carmensless and Gary in it. Larkin is now with us, our second place finisher. I guess we can get things going just about early on. We'll see if we can get the other guys in for interviews. Actually, I guess we'll start with the winner, because Ferg has just joined. So Ferg, good to see you, mate. Looked very tense in there. The question that sticks out to me, though, what were your emotions? No, I do have to ask though, what about that late move on Timon for the lead? Because that gave me goosebumps. It was fantastic from my point of view. Talk us through it. Oh, by the way, I do have to point out to you, by the way, if you can go into your party settings, I don't think your voice is activated for the public. Okay, just a quick a quick check at that. So if we can get that sorted out, that'd be absolutely great.
There we go. That should be there now. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, yeah, just to summarise then, again, Ferg, massively fair play to timing on the move, and yeah, just very sweaty, I think, after that race. I guess another question on the race itself. It seemed like the middle stint of that Grand Prix was one that was very tense for you because you were burning that battery and you were oh so close to getting in all the time. How tense is that middle stint? How the intensity, and how relieved were you when you saw that safety car?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So like, I knew, well, I had it in my head that they were working together, like kind of just keeping away from me, and I know that by doing that they had loads of battery. So the plan was just basically just put as much pressure on as possible. So I knew this whenever I came anywhere near that 1 second, it got close that they would just use a little bit, and even if I got into it, they'll be able to kind of use and still kind of control it in that way. But the main plan was just to stay with them and try and force some mistakes, force any sort of error, start forcing, I don't know, a penalty maybe. So yeah, no, it got very frustrating because it was just like, you know, if the safety car doesn't come out to help, then I don't know how I'm going to do this. Especially when I picked up my second warning, it got a little bit tense. But yeah, safety car came out, and obviously they had to double stack, which kind of gave me the P2 back that I bloody had at the beginning of the first safety car, and and then the move, obviously a lot of trust was there with the other driver, Feynman. So yeah, no, just great strategy. I'm just happy it all came together, and yeah, first win.
Yeah, certainly. I'm going to look through because obviously as a reserve, you haven't had the call up that many times. This is just your third race of the season, your first points of the season, and your first wins. So.
Yeah.
It's funny how things work out. With the way that attendance has unfortunately began to slide later on in the season, it's very possible you may come up again. The last three races, Canada, Brazil, Abu Dhabi, you see any opportunities at any of those tracks? They good for you?
Yeah, well, whenever I'm available, I'm here to race. So, yeah, Canada is a bit of a tricky one for me, let's just say. But Brazil and Abu Dhabi, I absolutely love the pieces. So, yeah, hopefully I can get the chance again to battle these guys at the top because, yeah, it was a great race, good fun.
Yeah, certainly. You gave us quite a show out there, it must be said. Handing over to you, Verstappen. You got any questions for our race winner here in Hungary?
Oh, congratulations on the win as a first. Was that move on, I think it was lap 34 you made the move on. Did you plan it that way?
Yes, just basically with the knowledge I had from one of my pals kind of keeping an eye on stream, I knew I had a little bit more ERS, so if I made the move on that lap, I knew I'd still have a kind of 20% buffer for the last lap, and I just had to make sure I got a good exit, because it's still, even, you know, with DRS, it's still difficult to overtake here. So I knew if I had a slightly superior ERS level, just had a nice exit, then it could probably come my way. Plus, I am aware that these two, Larkin and Timon, are in a championship battle, so I knew get that move done second last lap, and there's a chance they might start scrapping at each other, and it looks like that turned out to be the case. So it all just kind of fell in my lap, really. It was lovely.
Yeah, it all came together in the end. Thank you very much, Ferg, and congratulations on the race win. No worries. Okay, I guess now we will move on to our second place finisher tonight, Mr. XL Larkin. Now, Larkin, well, again, the whole intensity of the race seemed to be very high. Then you were scrapping away to stick with your teammate throughout it. Just what were you thinking? I believe you guys may be in party together throughout the race. What were the? I guess I have to ask this. What were the thoughts after that slight altercation on the last lap?
Yeah, we weren't in party today.
Oh, okay.
I think with it being a title battle between the two of us, there's sometimes situations where it's probably best that we're not in a party together. And I think after how today panned out, it probably was a good thing that we weren't in a party together. Constructors should be pretty much in the bag now as well, so we can go to being best of enemies, I guess, maybe. Yeah, it was a good race. I think Diamond was a lot quicker than what I was. I was just trying to stick in that DRS for most of it. The second safety car was annoying in terms of, obviously I had to double stack and ended up behind Ferg, but like he said, it's where I was before he did whatever he did under the first safety car. And then it was just a case of, trying to do something that you have to do in this situation, and it ended up with me coming second.
Yeah, it did in the end. So I suppose when we look forward, it seems to me as if you were way down the order throughout the entire season, and all of a sudden you've worked your way into the title fight. It's very Larkin style, it must be said. And you're still right in the mix without a race win at this stage, just like Carmentelis was. But I guess looking forward, you've got, I believe now, if my maths is right, you've got 17 points to the championship lead after that race. Still possible. 3 rounds left. What are we saying?
Oh, it's not impossible, is it? I remember I was here, when was I here? In Russia, and I was talking about the tracks that were left, and I was saying that with sort of Hungary and Canada, it was going to be a real struggle. But then, obviously, I've turned up today, and the pace was actually really good. Canada's historically a pretty terrible track for me, but if it can go like today, then I won't be complaining. Then Brazil's pad ABS heaven, so that will be my big opportunity. And then it's just Abu Dhabi where anything can happen.
Yeah, certainly looking forward. I guess you've probably already answered this, but I guess between you and Timon, you've generally played the team game. Slipstreams in qualifying, looking out for each other in the races. Are now in these final stages. Are all the gloves off?
I don't know, to be honest. We played the team game very well. Even today, we weren't being stupid with each other for so long. We were just cruising off, the two of us, trying to keep Ferg away and building a big gap to everyone behind. Obviously, on the last lap, we battled, but I sent it into turn 1, but we didn't make contact or anything like that. I think the only slight contact was through whatever that crazy left-hander is. But yeah, you're trying to go too wide through there. The fact that none of us ended up in a wall shows that we're still showing each other respect. I think we are teammates. We'll battle, but we'll battle fairly.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's going to keep up into those last 3 rounds of the season. Over to you, Verstappen, for your question for our second place finisher today, and I believe now second in the championship, XL Larkin.
Obviously, congratulations once again on the second place. Going for a very specific moment, actually. Out of turn 3 on the last lap, obviously, you look to be having the worst exit. Were you still determined to make that move around the outside? Because that looked very, very close, to say the least.
Yeah, I was, because I knew the only other possible opportunity was going to be the start of Sector 3. But he all race had been so quick through Sector 3, I didn't think I'd actually be close enough. And I knew that he was super low on ERS. He was below 10% going down the start-finish rate. So I knew that I'd saved up enough that I had the opportunity to make that move. I didn't have any warnings, so I knew that I could essentially fly around the outside if I needed to. So yeah, that's why I did what I did.
And it did work out in the end, P2, for you today. Very nicely done. Now over to Mr. QRT Simon, our third place finisher today, still by a decent margin now, the championship leader. As I mentioned, it should be a 17-point gap in the standings. I guess the obvious question: what's your verdict on that final lap incident? Do you think it was just one of those things?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I have spun. Surprised I didn't hit the wall and didn't even lose that much time. I don't know how I kept it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to take a look at it. But in the end, I didn't expect him to dive turn 1. I expected him to do it later, especially because he wasn't necessarily that close. He was on the racing line when we both braked. He went for really late, which was very well moved from him. And in the end, I think, yeah, it was a solid fight. I feel like Gary. I think that sums up this race. Just being screwed over by safety cars.
Well, safety car mentalist wasn't even here tonight, but
yeah, it's a wonder.
But yeah, I suppose just looking through the race itself, are you frustrated at all? Because really, apart from maybe those final few laps where Ferg had you under pressure, you seemed like the fastest man all night. Do you rue a missed opportunity, a potential winner, or are you still taking the positives of bringing home 15 points from tonight? Actually, 16, I think it'll be your fastest lap.
I mean, the pace was good. I mean, without the safety cars, I would have won. I'm being fairly real there. Even with the first safety car, I was out of the DRS. And then we have at the pit stop, so I got back. No, yeah. Before the pit stop, I ran out of DRS, and I felt like I was able to do so. But with all the safety cars, I definitely didn't get the opportunity. Because the whole race was just chilling on 80-90% DRS. And what Ferg said is that we were both using. I barely used any during the whole stint. And I saw Larkin get very close on the DRS straight. And then I knew Larkin was going to overtake me, trying to keep Ferg out of the DRS. And I was just saving up, waiting. And I was planning on going at like lap 30 and fully pushing. And then obviously had the safety cars. But I think it was all race, it was clear that one of us three was winning. We had insane pace compared to the others. And I think Ferg, definitely deserved the race win. In the end, definitely more was possible. I don't know if it will be P2 or P3, I don't know. And if there was the move was made unfair, which I don't know, because from what I can see and remember, which of course could be wrong, because my memory is not too great. We were side by side and I was ahead. Braking, we made contact and Larkin did not make the corner, so he went wide. So but I'm gonna have to look into that. And in the end, I think 17 points you said was the championship gap. So I'm happy. 2 wheel tracks, 1 pad track. It's definitely possible.
I think actually with the fastest lap, you'll have an 18-point advantage at the front. So it's even better, looking even better for you. You mentioned, of course, the potential. Going into this, because when I look at the final few races, we've got one clear wheel track, one clear pad track, and one fairly level track. I think is the going forward. So final few races: Canada, Brazil, Abu Dhabi. Do you think you can convert this championship lead?
I don't know. It's Gary has been looking quick. He's been putting in a lot of practice. So I'm probably most worried about him because I call Abu Dhabi more of a wheel track. The sector is very wheel-ish, and with tight temperatures being easier to handle on the wheel, I feel like Abu Dhabi is definitely easier for him. And Gary puts in insane amount of hours. He claims he has a job. Don't think so. He practices more than I do. But I think I can win Brazil. That's the track I've always been good at and am still good at. I know my pace. I can drop it in the 5s without ABS if on the practice that I've done. I don't know. I'll see what happens and I'll take it race by race. But I'll have to practice a bit more compared to what I did this race.
You'll take it race by race, but we've only got 3 races left. We are at the business end now of this season. There is no doubt about that. I suppose now for our last time of the night, Verstappen, you got any questions for our 3rd place finisher tonight?
Well, congratulations on the 3rd place. I do actually have one. You mentioned Larkin and Gary still as your contenders, but there's one in between there. Do you still see him as a contender here, or do you think he's ruled out of the championship?
I mean, points-wise, yes. But looking at I'm just calculating, thinking how common it is to get a safety car at the tracks. Canada, the rules are fairly close, but we'll really crash at Canada. You must be really stupid then. I might hit it into the Wolf Champions, to be fair. It would be a good way to get out. But Brazil, barely get any safety cars, and then Abu Dhabi. I don't know. We'll see. That's what I mean with saying race by race. I mean, I can have a very terrible race that can be all equal, or I can have a good race with others screwing up, and I'll have a massive lead. So, I'm just gonna practice for I'll see how it ends up, and then I don't care really who I'm fighting in a championship. I'm only fighting myself. That's how I see it. I need to improve myself. That's what I've done all season without the ABS. So I'm here for it.
No doubt about that. So I think that's going to be just about it for tonight, and what was a very entertaining, maybe a bit of a slow burner, but a very good ending certainly to the Hungarian Grand Prix. That's 14 rounds in the books, just 3 left to go in Season 7 of Division 2. So I think with most of everything sorted out for tonight, handing over to you, Verstappen, you got any final thoughts for the evening?
I have to say, very good driving tonight. It was very enjoyable to watch the battles going on, especially on the last lap, obviously. The last 2 laps. Between Ferg, Timon and Larkin in the end as well. And earlier on in the race we saw some action between Jaco and Ben JS as well. So very well done to those guys, obviously, making it all fairly clean, I have to say.
Yeah, of course, we did see that incident between Coxey and Zerma, so we'll see where things are going to end up with the stewards on that one. To be honest, I thought it was just a racing incident, but we will see. That looks to be just about it for tonight. 14 rounds, as I said, in the books, and Hungary now ticked off the list. Thank you all very much for tuning in once again as the Division 2 season draws near to a close. We'll see how things are going to shake out in the business end of the championship fight. Still to play for. We will see how it ends up, but with just about everything said and done for tonight, from myself and QVR Verstappen, it is goodbye for now, and until next time, we'll see you later.